What's up, guys? Big sigh. I've been feeling really exhausted because I've stepped into this new energy of not only asking for more, but owning that I'm worth more. And my entire life, I've always looked for that validation outside of me. I've always waited for people to initiate that I deserve more or give me that raise without me asking for it, because if they don't see it, then I'm not worthy. And I think I've always heavily relied on external validation in order to feel worthy. And as you may or may not know, that's extremely unsustainable, because if everybody around me is not seeing my worth, or if I'm around a bunch of people that don't think I'm worthy, what am I going to think about myself? Exactly, that I'm not worthy, that I don't deserve anything. I'm thinking and absorbing beliefs about me that are actually other people's beliefs. And it's not sustainable because it's not true. And that's not actually what is showing you your worthiness or not. And again, this has been like an ongoing process, and what made me realize that I was undervaluing myself was my therapist asked me how much I charged for this certain service I have. And when I told her, she was shocked and she told me, "You need to charge more. That is absurd." And so these past couple of months, I've slowly but surely been raising my rates, not only for that, but for everything in my life, because it was a huge slap in the face of me realizing how much I do undervalue myself, because I just want to people please and make other people feel comfortable. And I just felt like, well, nobody's initiated a raise for A, B, or C. I have a bunch of different gigs, by the way. So this was me asking for more money because I'm worth more. And I've gotten both reactions where people were like, "You deserve it. Yes, I will definitely increase that rate. You earned it." And then there were other people that were like, I don't really want to spend that much money on this, but thank you anyways." You know what I mean? There were definitely some doors that closed after I raised my rate, raised my value, because people are only going to respect you as much as you respect yourself. Okay, if I kept charging at the same rate and not changing it, people aren't going to think to themselves, "Oh, she deserves this. Oh, she deserves that." Maybe they will, but you can't bank or wait on people to do that. Just as in a relationship, right? If you're not getting treated the way that you deserve, what are you going to do? Just sit there and be like, "Oh, I must not deserve better." No, you need to own your worth and ask for what you need, ask for what you're not getting. And again, with this, their response does not dictate what you're worthy of, right? Because I'm not going to lie to you, getting rejected, especially when raising my rate, it made me gaslight myself and think, is this too much money? Like, am I in the wrong? Like, oh my gosh, two people already said no. It's been 50-50. 50% of the people said no. 50% of the people were like, yes, you deserve this. And it has nothing to do with me. It might have to do with their budget. It might have to do with what they see my worth as. It doesn't matter though, because I learned that the reason that I'm so exhausted from raising this rate is me gaslighting myself thinking, "Oh, this is too much. Maybe I'm not worth this." But you are worth it. And with that being said, hello, welcome back or welcome to Joy with Kendall. I'm Kendall Joy. And yeah, today's topic is about the biggest theme of my life currently, which has been feeling like I need validation to own my worth, and in fact, owning my worth without it, with it or without it. And something that I thought about the other day was, oh my gosh, imagine being a celebrity and feeling so validated and worthy because of receiving a lot of positive validation, but then having some bad publicity or something like that, and then having a bunch of negative attention be flooded your way. And I think we do see this in real time where celebrities will depend on that positive validation. And then once they start to get a bunch of negative backlash or whatever, they might start to spiral, get in bad habits, have even more bad publicity after that. And and it just comes to show that, like, getting external validation is never going to be sustainable. And that's been showing up in so many areas of my life where I have too heavily depended on validation in an environment from other people to feel whole, to feel good enough. And that's something I've also really dealt with just in terms of like my looks and not feeling pretty. You can't wait for people to tell you that you're beautiful to own it and believe it. You have to tell yourself that. And also, it's just a temporary sense of relief when people tell you something or validate you in some way. And I'm not saying that seeking validation is bad, but seeking too much validation is not inherently good. You know what I mean? You should never be dependent on that validation to feel whole, to feel good, to feel worthy, to feel beautiful. We should be able to some extent build that within ourselves. But then again, there is a balance, right? It is okay to want validation outside of you. It is okay to desire that, but it's not okay for your worth to waver on whether or not you're receiving that, because it's going to depend on the situation, on the circumstance, whatever the case may be. And it's a process. It's a process because I think for me too, if I'm not receiving validation in one way, I might overcompensate in another way. And I know in high school, I literally would delete a picture if it didn't receive a certain amount of likes or comments, which is so disgusting to me now that I cared so much about receiving validation through likes or comments, breadcrumbs, and in ways that I wouldn't even want now. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to feel validated about my looks because of how many likes I got. I want to feel validated because I look in the mirror and I'm like, I love that human being. Because also, when I was thriving off of those little breadcrumbs of validation, that was when I was the most insecure, was when I was depending on that outside validation all the time. I was never truly fulfilled with who I was. I was never truly secure in who I was because I was constantly depending on that validation outside of me. And I'm making this episode not to tell you that I have it all figured out, because I don't, but to try to motivate you to ask for more. Because again, ever since my therapist highlighted in my life, hey, that's absurd, you need to charge more, I've realized where I was undercharging for a lot of things or too scared to speak up. And again, it's that people pleaser part of me that is like, ooh, if I stay small, I'll be more comfortable. Ooh, I'm going to make other people uncomfortable raising this rate, especially if they're used to gaining access to me at a smaller rate. And of course, yeah, people might be thrown off by you asking for more, but stop doing things for less because you're worth way more than that. And it's funny because before this, I literally said out loud, like, universe, God, whoever, I literally want more. I'm so tired of receiving what I'm receiving. Like, I deserve more. I want more out of my relationships, out of finances, out of everything in my life. And it's funny because ever since then, it feels like the universe has been like, all right, then own that you're worth more and stop settling for less. Because when you keep accepting breadcrumbs, when you keep accepting things for less, guess what? The universe, God's going to respond to that and keep throwing you things that are coming at that same frequency because you keep accepting them. So you believe that you're worth that. And I think now I'm seeing so clearly what I am worth and what I'm not worth, and what things are worth my time and what is not worth my time, because time is so valuable. And if you're giving your time up to anybody, ask yourself, like, who are you spending time with? What are you doing? Own your worth in every area of your life, not just your finances, but who you hang around, how often you hang around them. Do you feel inspired by the people that you're around? Because I know for me, if I don't feel inspired by anyone in the space that I'm constantly in, you need to get out of there. And that's happened with me this year, where I'm no longer in one of the spaces I was in religiously. Something that I really sat with was, I don't feel inspired by anyone in this space. How can I be in a space throughout my week when I don't feel inspired by the people that I'm constantly around? Right? And owning my worth is saying, I deserve to be in a space where I feel inspired and uplifted by others. You guys, this shows up in every area of your life. If you want to own that you're more, you need to take a clear look at your life and ask yourself, how am I treating myself in my life as if I am less? Because once you start owning and acting from this place of wanting, needing, and accepting nothing less than more, that's when you're going to change your life. But it's going to take time, because I'm very much in this in between state where it feels exhausting because I have not stepped out of the limiting beliefs of being scared of what it's going to be like asking for more, absorbing other people's reactions or emotions, and thinking that it's personal to my worth or value. Again, it's going to take time. It's going to take months. It might take years, whatever the case may be. This is not something that is going to happen overnight. But if you want to own your worth, you have to let go of your old life and your old self that constantly accepted less. In my past, I'm so serious, I never had a rate or anything like that ever get rejected. But that shows me I was not asking for enough. Because I promise you, once you start making people feel a little uncomfortable, that's how you know you're owning your worth. Because we live in a society that tells us to be small, to ask for less, to make people comfortable. to shrink down. And part of owning yourself is going to be making people feel uncomfortable for owning your worth, respecting yourself enough to accept nothing less than respect. We often fear asking for more because we think worst case scenario. We're still operating off of old patterns and old memories in that fear of rejection. But what is that fear of rejection telling you? Why are you fearful of stepping into your power? There's a quote that says something along the lines of, "We don't fear our darkness, we fear our light." That's what we run away from the most, is we are fearful of our potential, of being the best that we can be. We are terrified of that. It feels so much easier to stay small. Don't stay small just to keep yourself operating from a place of fear and lack. Because I think we get stuck in this self-loathing, I'm never enough, I don't receive enough, I can't believe I'm at this job and it doesn't pay enough. Go to a different job. Ask for a raise and say, if I can't get paid at this rate, then I don't think this job is gonna work out. Know your worth, right? And I think I had this fear of asking for too much, but I can tell you, if you've been operating from this fear and lack, your intuition will tell you what you're worth. And that was how I decided my new rates. I immediately had one in mind. My gut told me what I should raise it to, what that price should be. And I even went to other people that weren't clients in any way and said, "Hey, does this feel fair?" People that really see my worth, people that really love me are the people that I asked, by the way. And all of them 1000% said yes. And I'm not saying, again, you don't need outside validation, but it's okay to ask for it. It's okay to be like, "Hey, I'm in a season of asking for more. Genuinely be honest with me. Is this an extreme amount of money?" Or whatever it is that you're asking for, whether it's money, whether it's your needs, whether it's an action. It can be anything. It can even be a coworker that doesn't put as much work in as you. "Hey, I need you to start stepping up to the plate because we get paid the same." That's okay too. It is okay to ask for more. And I think when that fear comes in, ask yourself, how can I prepare myself for rejection? How can I prepare myself for someone to not see my worth? What can you do if somebody says no? And I think ask yourself too, what's the worst thing that can happen if you ask for this thing, if you do for this thing? Because I know for me, the worst thing that somebody could do for me is say no, say that they couldn't meet me where I'm at. And guess what? It's nothing personal. That's okay. I'm moving forward. If you need me moving forward, let me know. And even in the ways that I record my episodes, I try to encourage you to find the answers. And I try to encourage you to empower yourself enough to figure it out on your own, right? I can be a guide. I can share what I'm going through. I can share tips. I can share steps. But at the end of the day, I don't have the answers for you. Only you have that. I don't know exactly what you're going through. I don't know exactly what situation this is going to apply to. But I can motivate you and tell you that you are worth more. And if you're listening to this episode, there is something in your life that you need to change, and you already know what it is. And I think we ignore these intuitive nudges because it feels uncomfortable. And again, we feel much more comfortable staying small. We don't need somebody outside of us to tell us that we're worthy. We don't need something outside of us to tell us to charge more. We are worth more. And when you start owning that through your actions, through where you spend your time, or how you treat yourself, your life will change over time, and it will feel exhausting at first, especially when you're not used to doing that. But then once it becomes your new normal, it's not going to feel exhausting, because then you're going to naturally start to operate on this playing field of abundance, of knowing your worth, of not needing it outside of people. And honestly, I think that rejection too is sometimes how we really start to access that, because then when you get rejected, you can validate yourself in that moment. Instead of spiraling because you didn't get validated, validating yourself, well, I know my worth and that is what I'm worth. I am worthy. I am worthy. I am worthy of that. When that fear starts coming in, start literally, you could say it out loud to reframe those thoughts or beliefs you're having. No, I'm enough. I'm enough and I deserve to ask for more. Especially because for me, I've been feeling exhausted going through that loop in my head of feeling like I'm asking for too much and just all that fear and these old beliefs and feelings coming up. So when those limiting beliefs come up, reroute them. Reroute them. You can. We get stuck in our own way, but we literally have the wheel. We can reroute ourselves. Okay, we are the GPS, even if we don't know where we're going sometimes. So in short, I'm sure that I will have another episode coming out at some point about owning your worth even more, validating yourself even more, maybe with more steps, maybe with more inspiration. But this is where I'm at right now. And I know that it's helping you with wherever you're at right now. And we don't have to be perfect. You don't have to have the answers from someone else, from somebody else's podcast. You have them already. We just like to avoid them and like to look outside of us because, especially if it's a hard answer we don't want to face, it seems easier to just rely on somebody else's answer for us. So, with that being said, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Own your worth. Stop shrinking. And much love.